The Twin Cities area is in a flood watch, and that has local cities concerned. Melting snow, ice, and rain could lead to street flooding in urban areas. Reporter Sonia Goins is live in Crystal to show us what the city is doing to avoid this from happening. Sonia?
Now, Shannon, it's already started to rain a little bit today, and that is bad news for Crystal Public Works crews. Let me tell you why. Remember all that snow and rain and ice we got earlier this year? Well, it's now starting to melt, and normally it would go into a catch basin like the one you see here, but you can see it's clogged with ice and snow, sending standing water into the streets.
Mother Nature is definitely being a little bit challenging this year.
Mother Nature is really taking us on a ride. From February's record-setting snow to sub-freezing temperatures and now 40-degree temps and rain in the forecast. The roller coaster weather has public works crews racing against the clock.
We're out in full force trying to get those catch basins clear before not only the snow melts rapidly, but also the rain coming.
Crews are focusing on low areas of neighborhoods where the water will definitely collect.
So the yellow lines on this map are all the storm sewer pipes, and all the little rectangles are the actual catch basins.
But Mother Nature is not making their task easy. They first have to locate the catch basin, which they use a metal detector to find. Then they bring in heavy equipment to scoop up all the snow that is collected on top of the drain. The next process requires some muscle. Chipping and hammering away at the ice until it's gone. And finally, water is flowing. Ta-da. Now, Crystal Public Works crews will not be able to get to all 2,300 catch basins in time for the rains on Tuesday and Wednesday, so they could use some help. Now, it might be a hard time trying to find all these catch basins because all the snow and ice. You could use Google Maps to do that. Now, if you do decide to help them, do not throw salt into the drains because it could lead into our lakes, and that's another issue right there. Meanwhile, the Crystal Police Department wants me to warn folks, do not run through your cars through the floods in the streets because you never know just how deep it is. Live in Crystal, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
Good information. Thank you, Sonia. On the final stop of his statewide education tour, Governor Tim Walz visited Meadow Lake Elementary School to discuss his plans to invest more money in K-12 education.
This budget and this tour highlighted to us once again, Minnesotans believe in education. They believe in smart investments in education. They believe in making sure that we have local control to the educators who make a difference to be able to impact those.
The governor's budget would make a historic investment of $523 million in education. His budget would increase the general funding formula, which would give school districts more freedom to use those dollars in ways they see fit. The governor says if this budget is not passed, it could have serious consequences for students.
If this budget does not go through, 400 of them don't just figuratively leave or step behind the cameras. They are not in this facility. That has incredible lifelong implications for them. It has incredible implications for Minnesota, both in our potential employment that we have and the cost to us in both social services and corrections.
For the governor's full budget plan, visit our website, ccxmedia.org. The popularity of food trucks has Robbinsdale rethinking where food trucks are permitted. The City Council is considering allowing food trucks at places like schools, churches, and apartment buildings for special occasions only. Currently, food trucks are not allowed in those spaces at all. A permit would be required, and the food truck would have to park in an off-street parking area, not on a city street. The City Council could give final approval next month. It's something we don't see very often in New Hope or Crystal, a new housing development built on vacant land. The city of New Hope is considering allowing 32 detached single-family homes in a subdivision called Windsor Ridge. It would be built on vacant land that's north of the New Hope Ice Arena. The development would have split entry, two-story, and ramblers for sale between $350,000 and $420,000. Neighbors expressed concerns about cutting down the trees on the property and the train noise, but the Planning Commission did recommend the project for approval. An apartment complex in Maple Grove continues to grow. The Planning Commission recommended approval for a third apartment building at the reserve at Arbor Lakes. This building will have 162 apartment units and construction should begin in the fall. The first building opened with more than 250 apartments in July and is more than 70% leased. The second building opens in September. Eventually, there will be 4 buildings with 700 apartments that make up the reserve. Police credit a Brooklyn Park man for stepping in and helping an elderly woman as she was being robbed. Barry Jensen heard the elderly victim yell for help as he was mowing his lawn last August. Jensen chased after the robber and caught him. The robber did break free, but another citizen stepped in to help detain the robber before police arrived. Police honored Barry Jensen on Monday night. According to police, the suspect committed a similar robbery 5 days earlier. The suspect, who police say is a juvenile, has been charged in both robberies. A hip-hop artist who has been in the national spotlight came back to inspire students at his former high school on Monday. Here's one sage piece of advice Herbert Johnson gave to students at Perpich Center for Arts Education.
In today's society, with the industry, I feel you can really get tied into becoming a product and less of a human being. Expression is the closest thing is the thing that makes you a human being over a product.
Johnson is a dance instructor for the University of Minnesota and travels the nation to compete in hip-hop competitions. He was in Super Bowl 52 halftime show, actually. He's one of several former Perpich students who return on a regular basis to talk about a career in the arts after high school.
The Hopkins girls basketball team takes aim at a state title this week after finishing as the Class 4A runner-up 3 years in a row. Here's Jason Malillo with more on the Royals.
March 2016, Hopkins falls to Minnetonka in the state title game. March 2017, Hopkins falls to Elk River in the state title game. March 2018, Hopkins falls to Eastview in the state title game.
It's crazy. We don't want that feeling again. We've had it 3 years in a row. We're tired of it now. We're super hungry. We're so ready for this.
We've got a different vibe this year. The kids have really bought into what we're trying to do and how hard it is to do what we're doing. And we feel like our opponents in our section were really tough this year. So I think we're battle tested.
Hopkins is amped up and ready for first-round opponent Lakeville North. The Royals beat the Panthers early in the regular season.
They're really quick. Lauren Jensen's a really good player. She can go off at any moment, and they're a really well-balanced team. They run the floor, and they get up and pressure on defense, and they throw a lot of stuff at us, so we got to prepare and not look at that win that we had against them earlier in the year and think this is going to be easy, because it's not. It's state championship. It's on the line, so everything's on the line, yeah.
They say winning isn't everything, but after 3 years of silver, Hopkins is hungry for gold. Jason Malillo, CCX Sports.
Hopkins and Lakeville North will play at 10 a.m. Wednesday at Williams Arena. The other local team to make it to the Class 4A tournament is Maple Grove. The Crimson are going back to state in back-to-back years for the first time in program history.
After a season-opening loss to St. Michael Albertville, there may not have been a lot of people outside of Maple Grove picking the Crimson to win the rematch in last week's section final. But that's what happened. Maple Grove's double-digit win over a team that had won 12 straight games showed how far this Maple Grove team has come.
We have had a lot of younger kids step up and really be a major part of this varsity team, and especially the starting five. And it's crazy to see the chemistry that we've built.
We weren't expected to do anything this year, really, and we really surprised a lot of people, and I'm so happy about that.
Maple Grove carries a 23-6 record into the state tournament, and they'll get a familiar opponent in the quarterfinals, Centennial, a conference opponent they lost to in February.
They run the floor really well. They push the pace really well, but they also, they're huge. They're long. They got, big, strong post players. They can put 2-3 big posts on the floor at one time. Now that Stapleton's back, McCauley is one of the best players in the state of Minnesota. I mean, she just is. Her length is so disruptive. Can score from anywhere. So they're just a very talented team all the way through.
Maple Grove and Centennial tip off at noon Wednesday at Williams Arena, a game you can see Wednesday at 7 p.m. here on CCX1. Cooper is back in the Class 3A tournament after winning the title in their first appearance last year. Here's Jay Wilcox with more on the Hawks.
Thrilling, nerve-wracking, Heart-stopping. Cooper's 52-51 win over Waconia in the Section 6 final was all of the above.
It was very intense. In the end, we were like almost crying because we was fighting for that game, and we worked hard, so we got what we wanted and what we deserved.
We've played a lot of close games this year, so learning how to grind it out and come out on top, you know, when things aren't going our way, or even being down with just a couple seconds left. And, you know, I think Asia Wheeler speaks for herself being a senior. You know, she was ready.
The Hawks are the number 2 seed for the state 3A tournament. They drew Austin, a team they don't know much about, in the quarterfinals.
It could be hard. Sometimes, you know, we don't know like what they usually run, what defense they run, but we're gonna come out and play our game.
Most of the players in Cooper's rotation played at least some in the state tournament last season, so they know what to expect.
I think it's very helpful because like we know what to expect, what the court feels like, what the crowd feels like, so we won't be nervous, we'll be ready.
It hasn't been all smooth sailing this season, but Cooper's now in good position to shoot for a repeat in Class 3A. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
Cooper and Austin play at 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon at Maturi Pavilion at the U of M. That's all for sports. More news after this.